This is SolidWorks tutorial lesson 2.3. In this video we'll be cutting the groove around this pulley that we've already made. Let's go to the drawings and look at that groove. So this groove is up here at the top. We can see that it's in the top rectangle and we have three dimensions that go with it. We know that it's 0.5 deep, 0.5 wide at the bottom, then it has two diagonal lines that are 40 degrees apart from each other that go towards the top. Alright, so now we want to go ahead and do the revolved cut. So we'll go ahead and do the revolved cut tool. In our property manager, it's asking us to draw or pick a new plane to draw the cross section on, or pick an existing sketch. We don't have the sketch already, so we're going to have to draw one. And we're going to do it on the same plane we drew our previous cross section, right on the right plane. We're going to use our normal 2 button to line ourselves up. We're going to zoom into this top part. Remember that the origin is still down here in the middle of our part, so we want to relate to it. Alright, so we'll go ahead and use the line tool, and we'll draw a line from this top line. We'll just go straight across. We're going to want a closed shape, so a trapezoid shape, and we'll want to include that top line so that it's closed. Alright, so we'll go ahead and get out of the line tool. We've drawn the 4 lines there, and it's automatically put in 3 relationships for us, coincident with the silhouette edge of what's existing, and then a horizontal relationship for this part here. Alright, let's go ahead and put our dimensions in. If we remember, between the top and the bottom here, it was 0.5 deep, so we'll put that in. And the other one was this bottom width was 0.5 as well. Okay. And now if you put a dimension between 2 diagonal lines, it automatically puts an angle relationship or dimension between them. So we want this angle to be 40 degrees. Alright, so we've got all of these dimensions in. We can't really add any more because our drawing doesn't show anymore. But you can see from the drawing that this is all lined up right above the origin. Okay, so we're going to think of relationships that we can add to make that above the origin. We could make the midpoint of this line and this line both above the origin. And to do that, we would right click one of these lines and we could say select midpoint, and then hit Control and also click on the origin, and we have a vertical relationship between the two. Okay, that does a little bit, kind of lined us up. And let's try the same thing with the top. We'll go ahead and select the midpoint there, hit Control and select the origin, and make a vertical relationship. Alright, so that actually worked. Those two are now both vertical from there, and everything's straightened up. Let's look at a different way to do this. I'm going to hit Control-Z twice to take out both of those relationships. And let's think of it with symmetry. What happens if we draw a center line from the origin and up? Okay, and I'm going to show you something here that some students do that kind of messes them up in the future. Let's say they're drawing their center line and they start at the origin and they zoom out. They want it to go straight up, and then they think, oh, I do want to have it go also down here to the bottom. So they also click down here. Alright, you can see that the center line is there, but there's one line that goes the whole distance and then one line that goes half the distance. Okay, that will make the whole sketch underdefined in the future. So we want to delete this one that only goes halfway to make sure that that doesn't mess us up. So watch out and make sure that you don't do that on your center lines. Okay, now we want to make a symmetrical relationship between these two side lines and that center fold line. So we'll go ahead and click this line here, hold Control, hit the center line, and then this other line. So we've got 3 entities here, and the possible relationships are all here. One of them is symmetric, so we'll go ahead and click on that. And that lined us up, and it turned everything black and fully defined. So there's a lot of different ways to do things. You'll have to figure out which one you like the best and which one also helps in the future. We'll talk about that when we have lessons on design intent. But now that our sketch is fully defined, we can go ahead and exit the sketch. And we're in the Cut Revolve tool. Alright, it automatically selects our center line, number 7, or this symmetrical line that we used, as our axis of revolution. That isn't right, so we actually want to select the line that is through this middle axis, which isn't showing because it's part of another sketch. One of the things we can do is go up to this Hide Show Items button, click the drop down, and there's a View Temporary Axes button. If we click this, it will put an axis in every circular part, in the middle of every circular part. We can see that that axis is here. So we're going to click on this field here, and instead of this line, we're going to select that middle axis. Okay, still a blind revolve and going 360 degrees. Okay, and we can see that the preview is actually doing the right thing. And we'll go ahead and click OK. Alright, so you can now see that that groove is in there. Okay, before ending this step, I want to show you what happens if we don't have a closed contour. So I'm going to hit the Control-Z button to go back into the sketch and pretend that we didn't draw that top line there. Okay, this has things referenced to it, so we'll need to re-reference things. So that line isn't there, and let's say that we were able to make that dimension between that point and that line down there as 5 or 0.5 inches. So everything's black and fully defined, but you'll notice that that is empty right there. So when we exit the sketch and we go into the Features and Revolve Cut tool, and we go ahead and pick that existing sketch, it gives us a message that says the sketch is currently open. A non-thin revolution feature requires a closed sketch. Would you like the sketch to be automatically closed? If we click yes here, it will automatically try and draw a line between the open parts. In this case, it would probably work because that's pretty simple of a sketch. In more complicated sketches or different shapes, it might not be able to close it how we'd want. But for this time, let's click no to see what happens if we don't close that sketch. Automatically in our property manager, it has checked the thin feature, which gives a certain thickness for that cut. We'll go ahead and we'll have to replace this center axis again, so it's going to revolve. So you can see that the preview is revolving something, and if we accept that, okay, it's giving us a message that there's two different bodies. Okay, let's see what that means. We'll click OK. You can see that it cut grooves right along those lines, but it didn't cut out the middle of those lines. That keeping body message is saying that we have two different bodies floating in the air. This ring here, and then the whole rest of the pulley. There's open space, nothing is connecting those two bodies. So that isn't what we'd want, so you want to be careful not to have thin features, and also you want to make sure you have closed sketches. So let's go ahead and hit undo again. Remember that the undo button is good to try different things on your own. You can always undo what you did and get it back to how it was before. Okay, so we'll go ahead and exit the sketch and revolve this the right way. Replace that line one more time and accept it. Alright, so that's how we want it.